Good morning. Well, looks like maybe finally, could this market actually starting a liftoff stage, meaning rather than the churn, all this sideways chop. We talked about this bullish price action here and this advance, and more sideways, choppy action that went on here. I talked about that yesterday, but you know, yesterday the way prices advanced in the latter part of the day, which seemed to come out of nowhere. There was an initial attempt to drop in the middle of the day. You could see here, and then that sharp advance higher. And so as I'm looking at this, you can look at the weekly chart. You can see the void in the S&Ps. And now how the bars, again, we don't know how the day is going to end, but the gap up so far, a green day. And so, in part, the expectation from my point of view is that this could begin to accelerate higher. And I know there's this swing here, but look, we got this sideways consolidation here for, what was it, about 6, 7 weeks, and then the move up. And I was a little surprised that it even stalled as much as it did. So now this really shouldn't be much of a stopping point. You see, I've got the red line there because it's a pivot high, PH. Um, but it opens up the door to the possibility where rather than this kind of a chop that's going on, it actually begins to make a vertical move to the upside. So, what could stop that? Well, we've got the NQs that are right there, which do they have to stop there? No, they don't. And typically what happens in a scenario like this, scenario like this has never happened before, where prices have fallen so far from a new all-time high and then it come right back like that. So that being said, it's not uncommon for a bottom pattern, even a V bottom that begins to move up like that, to actually take out the high prior to some type of corrective action. And yes, there was some corrective action here, no doubt. You can see where the opening prices, the kind of sideways there for several weeks, and then it begins to advance again, making higher low, higher high bars. So as I'm speaking, they're starting to pull back a little bit, but there's been this rotation that we've also talked about. So some of the leaders, some money coming out of them and going into some of the beaten down sectors like financials, some of the retailers, and there's some others. Of course, the airlines have gotten some interest. So some rotation out of the leaders into some of the, I've used junk. Some, we'll see how many of these companies that were doing well prior actually last. So we'll see. Anyway, so a little bit of weakness, but not, I guess, unusual compared to what's been happening here day to day. And so a lot of choppy action here. And just going back to the ES again, you can see the difference in how it's acting. So bringing up the rear, and with the idea of bringing up the rear, we see the Dow, which has this little minor shallow pullback type of a hook pattern, where you have this advance and this shallow retracement, and now as it comes up to the 200, that will be a focal point to see if it gets through it. So looking at the actual Dow that everyone talks about in the news, we see that the 200 is right up here at around 26,335, which is pretty close to the swing high. So we've got these reference points to be aware of. So as as the markets begin to pick up some steam to the upside, you still got to keep an eye on the reference points, possible reference points where things stall. So 200 MA on the daily chart of the cash indice is always going to be a focal point. So while we can look at the futures and see where they are, you got to look at the cash markets too. So the S&P 500 has been showing relative strength. Real easy way to determine that. Well, this is above the 200 and the Dow isn't. So the S&P is showing relative strength, maybe in part, no, not maybe, in part because of Boeing, which looks like maybe it's going to start perking up. It's been basing for a long time. Maybe it's getting ready to break out as this Corona thing seems to be losing interest, as protesters seem to be gaining interest. And maybe you've had the same thought as me, probably a lot of people, but whatever happened to that social distancing where we were supposed to be 6 feet apart and now people are like up against each other, maybe face masks, maybe not, but a little ridiculous what's going on there, but another conversation. So SPX, here's the swing high. And from my own point of view, is there premium above 3,100? Jake, 3,000. Well, I didn't catch where that was. Yeah, I think 30.50 is too close. Well, 30.50 on the downside. I would want to go below this pivot, right? It's not even a pivot, actually, but below this bottoming tail bar right there at around 3,000. So we always look at our reference point when we talk about credit spreads. And where's our comfort level? Where do we feel that we're away from the danger? And with 0 days to expiration, we say, well, where's the safe part today? So the first place you look is the prior day's low and say, is that far enough away? It could be. The way things are advancing, well, that's yesterday, that move into the close. But let me just go to spiders here for a second. Kind of just, they're up here at 310, a couple of points, a little close, but maybe a few points below yesterday's low, closer to 3,000 or so. So maybe we don't have to go all the way down below the bottoming tail bar, but maybe around 3,000, give or take, I think should be safe. Let's go back to SPX. Yeah, you got a swing low here. It's pushing up. So let's just drag our line up here. So below 3,000, that's the bottoming tail. You can see the green line moving there. So you choose, look at the premiums. When I look at them, and if there's something a little further away, I'd rather take some less money and have more of what could be a sure bet. Right? Personally, I've got a pretty good record with these, with no losers, and being able to let them expire worthless. So taking a little less for a little better odds play has worked out. Up above, hard to say, I think, but there's this swing high up there. So is there any premium up there? Now, so the other thing to do on the call side is, as they start to move up, going back to the futures here, they're just kind of grinding their way up there. But let's say they hit 3,100 and get slapped right back down pretty hard. Well, then we could look at the call spread at that time. But as it's moving up, you're getting in front of what's moving up there, and you don't know where it's going to stop. So let's see what happens up there. All right. We've already looked at the Dow. The Russell bringing up the rear, and it's got some room up to 1450-ish before it hits this resistance. So I like that, with expectation that it'll continue to move up. And as long as this hourly chart is making higher highs and higher lows, your bias should be on the long side here, unless it gets extended. We'll say it just screams up toward that high, takes it out, and then begins to stall, and then possibly getting an M top type of a pattern, then you can consider the short side. But right now, it looks like it's going to continue to move up. Bonds down again. And the markets, we're kind of taking this lightly. Now, they're not collapsing, but as bonds are moving down, interest rates are moving up. And so with that in mind, you got to wonder, that is, this isn't moving that much, but if it clears these highs, I think the market's going to take notice of that. So something to, just, set an alert. Takes 2 seconds. See if it's going up. You don't have to be watching it all day. And once I do that, I'm just going to drag this down here a little bit to get it closer. Adjust my alert to see if that goes up there. And if it goes off during the day, it's going to be, I may see this go off, and maybe the markets are advancing. And you could should keep an eye on the NYSE tick. So if interest rates are going up, markets were going up, and I get a tick extreme, I'm going to think about time to exit some longs and be watching to see if we start to get some kind of selling pressure. So just a little bit of thoughts. We don't know what's going to happen, but this is kind of like the factory work, if you will, as the analysis of what's happening in one market, into market analysis, what market internals intraday, to be a heads up without having to watch the charts. Let the computer watch. Oil down a little bit, right? No big deal. It's got room to continue to move up into this unfilled gap area. And so a little bit of selling there, but hasn't violated a prior day's low. So still looking good there. Bit of a deep retracement, but this is where the buyers should want to step up there. And gold kind of just can't get out of its own way yet. I think it's just waiting for the market. So as the markets show some strength, gold up at resistance, buyers backing off a little bit here, still within the trading range. Well, my assumption is as the markets begin to, at whatever point, begins to correct a little bit deeper, gold is likely to then break out here and then push higher, since the higher time frames are still bullish. Silver played some catch up with gold and came up toward this resistance here on the weekly time frame, which we can see right there. That's where it's backed off from or gone sideways in the past. So that's backing off here a little bit, maybe putting a little pressure on gold on top of the markets showing some strength. And lastly, the transports. Right? It had this head and shoulders top, was threatening to drop and recovered. And now it's coming up into this resistance area. So we want to keep an eye on the transports to see if they start to show any relative weakness or whether they can clear this high and continue to move up. So the question always is, as we're looking at, say, in this case, the NASDAQ, which is moving up, and other markets like the transports and the Russell, which was showing relative weakness and financials, the more markets that begin to join the party, the closer you're getting to some pain. Now, as money rotates out of what's strong into what's weak and everything begins to move higher, at some point, the profits have been taken. And so just something to keep in mind. So far, everything looks like it's going to go higher. And as I said at the beginning, that ES looks like it's going to actually accelerate to the upside. Paul Kuzma, I would say refresh because I'm showing the transports there. And so I think it's just what you're seeing for some reason. So I'm done, Dan. All yours.
All right, thanks. I was just updating Bowen there. Our little Neo trade did fantastic. Weekly here. Here, I'm just finishing this Boeing post. All right, here we go. So what I was doing was adjusting Boeing. We actually have a Condor, so out of the money call spread, out of the money put spread, and the call side's getting threatened here. So I'm just moving the stop 5-minute high. Let's look at our other opens. We're very heavily loaded directionally to the long side. We have a few Condors and call spreads. Let's go through them. They're all seem fine. We have an AMD call spread, locked in a profit. Arun, we have calls. We have a call spread on Beyond, the way out of the money, the 150s. That looks fantastic. Can we roll up the put side? Yes, Arun, excellent question. Yeah, but I'm not going to do it at the open. Let's make sure it maintains strength. But yeah, that's an excellent idea. Thank you. Yeah, we did that on Hess. We had a Condor yesterday and we stopped out of the call spread. We rolled up the put spread to take in more premium and we put on a directional. We bought the stock. That was a fantastic adjustment to go from neutral to all out bullish. But yeah, that was fantastic. I gotta actually put that in my adjustment notes. Yeah, Zoom we'll get to in a second, Oliver, on YouTube. I just want to real quickly go through here. Costco call spread, it's fine. Dunking call spread, fine. In fact, on Dunking, we have a call spread that expires Friday. If it now, with this little gap up, bobbles around a little bit, particularly if we get a 1, 2, 3, then I want to do another one for next week. Echo Alpha put spread, Google put spread. Trump's going after some of these companies, both, he's attacking Twitter, Facebook for, filtering conservative behavior, whatever they're doing. And I was reading on Facebook that, wow, that their employees are like rioting against management and demanding all these changes. And I'm thinking, who runs this company? You got all these people out, I'd say, well, do you see that front door over there? Feel free to walk out of it. But I'm sure that's all politically tied together. Exactly, I know. All right, on Netflix, we have put spread, RCL put spread. Some of the cruise lines, I noticed some morning weakness, but our put spread is wide. We have the 49.47, so still almost $6 away for Friday. Netflix put spread looks great. Starbucks call spread, and we've tightened the stop. SMH put spread looks fantastic. Remember we were talking about various semis yesterday, and I said, you know what? I like this pattern the best. And so we did a covered, we did long stock in our ETF trader, and we did a put spread in the weekly options trader. And in retrospect, I wish I gave us a bull debit spread for our swing ladder Tesla. We did a put spread. We're already at over 50% max profit, so that's it. So you see, we got a ton of open positions there. Neo, we sold the final third pre-market at 516. Do you remember what I said? Look, this is exactly what I said yesterday. That is a bullish 15-minute chart. I want to squeeze one more pop out of this to the low 5s. Voila, we're right there. So let them have it. Let them have our merchandise. We booked Greg, we booked on our 3 lots combined, 188% return in 3 days.
Come on, Dan, nobody does that.
Well, go look, it's in front of your eyes.
Don't be pulling anybody's leg. Some
Right.
marketing BS.
Right. No, that's exactly something we don't do. CNQ, another no-brainer setup that we bought, gapping up very nicely. I like that a lot. I'm going to put that in a 15-minute window to keep an eye on them. CNQ. All right, let's continue. But that looks fantastic. All right, let's see here. On Delta, we have a directional. Nobody likes a bragger. No, but what you will never, ever see, Clint, us do, ever, is what some of these other idiot companies do, where, oh, I took $1,000 account to $1.5 million in 1 year. Let me sell you my proprietary indicator. That's such bullshit. They're trying to sell get-rich schemes, just like losing weight without effort. That's what they're selling. And the idiots who believe that, they're meant for each other. Fine, you all have a good time together, and you'll come knocking on our door after you blow up your account a few times. Hey, George Gravel, welcome. I don't know if I recognize your name, but do me a favor, put your drop down, all panelists and attendees here. I'm trying to go fast. GoDaddy looks fantastic. Nice 15-minute chart. Gall. Is this you, Zeke? Zeke gave this to me yesterday, or somebody did, and I think it's Zeke, whatever. Yeah, because, hey, Zeke, I remember saying this. Shiraz, your drop down. I remember telling Zeke, once we are up $1, I didn't know we would get it the following morning. Look, $1 divided by 580 is we're up 15%. I said we're going to give Zeke credit for that once we're up $1. So good job, Zeke. And yeah, we'll be. You could sell a third. Well, let's go back to it. It depends what time frame you want to trade. If you are a short-term trader, sell a third right now, pre-market. If you say, you know what, I'm holding out for $8 to $10 because the daily and weekly suggests it's very possible, then you got to sit through the pullbacks. That's the way it is. All right, Hess, I mentioned covered call, beautiful 15-minute chart, IQV hit into the close. We're long stock. Pro, long stock, beautiful no-brainer, 1, 2, 3, 4, SPGI, long stock, VXX, the volatility ETF. Look, we shorted that. I'm short the ETF myself. I told you all I was doing that. But in our swing ladder, we are long puts. Finally, WCN, we're long stock. All right, other than Boeing going against us here a little bit on the call side, which we'll manage, no problem. Everything else, our inventory is fantastic. All right, Zoom. I don't know what the YouTube question was. It's very strong. It's actually bullish pre-market here. Had earnings gapped up, came in. That's a buy setup on minor support. So maybe for a day trade, maybe 10-minute high. We aren't going to do anything until it settles down. But for me, it's not my style. It's up too much. I would prefer it to have gapped up $10, $20, and then I'd be looking to short a call spread. Yeah, they reported earnings. Right, Oliver. Same with Boeing, add new put spread. Yes, Lauren, yes, we're going to do that. Yeah, we did it beautifully with Hess yesterday, that adjustment. So with Boeing here, let's give it 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. And yes, that's going to be on my list to adjust. Let me continue here. Moss, McGraw gave me this. McGraw, put spread is fine. It's lagging, but I mentioned to you, you mentioned to me yesterday, FCX. And I like this pattern better. It broke out. It's above the rising 20 and 50. It's a bullish 15 minute. You know, this might go to 11 bucks. Like we said, $1 on a $10 stock's 10%. Would I add to Google? No, not with the gap down. No. Nope. Jets here. We took a position in our ETF trader, and it's a bottoming pattern. It's trying to bottom. Bud, gap up. It's a nice pre-market here. That's a bullish pre-market, 52.60, market off. It's a gap breakout. Yeah, that looks good. What type of pattern is this, folks, on the weekly? Anyone, quick, we're out of time. It's a beautiful, beautiful W pattern. I got to put that in my scrapbook. Let me just write a note. Bud Weekly. I guess I got to call them digital scrapbooks now, right? Because if you go around saying you have a scrapbook, people are going to look at you strange. 86 bucks. Market off. No pattern. It's a bearish gap, but no pattern. There's the FCX for McGraw. Whoa, Seco looked like it was on its deathbed, and now it got one of those electro EMT, you know, jolts to the heart. He's back to life. Look at the volume, folks, in the first 10 seconds. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. I'm breathless here. Look at that volume in 5 seconds. That's amazing. Nothing to do with it, though. I'm just amazed with the volume there. Ed, explain the 1/3 BA position. Yeah, no, it's now. It's at current prices. I mean, read it, Ed. It says right here at opening prices. I didn't say wait 5-minute high, did I? So it's right at the opening price. Or if it came in a little bit, you could try to get better price. But no, I went in a third position, and we'll be looking to add. What does Seco do? I have no idea, but it looks like a bio. That's Mark, you didn't listen. It's 5-minute high on Boeing. I just posted that, and I said it verbally, and that's our trading rules. When something gaps over, now you might be better because it's acting very well here on the intraday charts, but I'm just telling you what our rules are. Give it 5 minutes. Hey, Roku here is tanking on the 15-minute chart. We had hey, this Greg, I asked you, or you told me, call spread. This might set up for a swing. Sell setup at the converging 2050 resistance. Oh shoot, I was tempted to sell a little gall pre-market. But I was busy. Yeah, I guess, and then I'll add back and I'll pull back. But the Roku looks good for a short, folks. I'm just looking at the fangs are all over the place. Qs came in. Yeah, Uber was on our list yesterday as a long. Yep, and I posted that in our Telegram. I said I have Uber. I have Uber as a long watch. UNH. Oh, this will be a fantastic 30-minute high trade. That looks great. And now Q's back to the high. All right, UNH. Yeah, I'm not ready on Boeing to do any adjustments. I said we're going to wait 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes minimum. So let's hold off on Boeing. But I'm focused on UNH right now. I already said we're watching it, but you know, and how aggressive I get in is a function of what the broader markets are doing. And this is, you know, they're extended on the 15-minute chart, but the daily's not. It's 9:34, so look, Zoom's coming in here, bottom right. This prior high, 309.66. And unfortunately, I looked yesterday and they're too spreading. 338. All right, see, Boeing, see, I mean, I was in no rush to do anything, so we're fine. Now we have a 5-minute high on the call spread.